Eat, sleep, bet, repeat. That's how we get down on the opening line at EliteSportsBetting.com. I'll be your host, Benny Ricciardi, and today we're going to be talking a little XFL action. Normally, I have my boy Tyler here with me, but he's actually out on vacation this week. And the one thing I love about this company is we got a real deep bench. So I'm just going to bring in the guy who took down the 5K GPP last week, my man Armando Marsal, up in here with me today. Talk a little XFL action. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, Ben? It's been a while, man, but glad to be here talking some XFL with you. Yeah, it was a sweat last week, man. It was literally right until the end. I didn't swap into first place. I was second place for quite a while, and I jumped into first. I think it was one of the last defensive plays for the Vipers, man. So, and I had two guys with the same exact lineup chasing me. Fortunately, I was able to hold them off, man, and take down that GPP. It was quite the sweat, though, man. Quite the sweat.
Yeah, it's always nice when you put a little four-figure score in there for you. So that's a nice little chunk of change to throw in there this week. So let's see if we can help these people out and get the next one going for this weekend here. So we're up to week 5 in the XFL right now, and you know it's a little bit tough, man. There are a couple teams that we thought were going to win last week that did not wind up winning last week. And the thing is, they didn't just lose; they lost bad. Like I mean, the Vipers game you were talking about is one right there. I mean, a lot of people were on DC. DC -4 was one of the big bets last week that Vegas made a lot of money on. And the Vipers wound up blowing them out 25-0 in that game. What the hell happened there?
The Vipers finally showed up, man. They really struggled early on in the season, but they put together 2 pretty solid weeks, back to back. In week 3, they really had a tough matchup against Houston, but they still put up 27 points. This is kind of what we were expecting earlier in the season, and it looks like it's all coming into fruition now. So, I was not expecting a 25-0 game by any means. But look, this offense is rolling now, and I'm not surprised that we're seeing them put up some points, because at least I was expecting that early in the season. It just took some time to get it going for them. This week's matchup is going to be an interesting one for them, though, man.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's go in order here. This way everybody gets following along with some bets. They can do what they're doing here. So the first game up here, Seattle Dragons against the Houston Roughnecks. Houston, huge favorite, 12.5 points. This is actually the highest over-under on the week, and I feel like the over-unders have come down a little bit. This one is 45.5, which is the highest number we have. Seattle losses to DC, Dallas, and St. Louis. A couple tough teams right there that they lost to. Their one win was against that Tampa Bay team that did wind up beating DC. And then Houston is basically the darlings of this league so far. 4-0 start, beat a good LA team, beat a good St. Louis team, beat a good Dallas team, and then also beat Tampa Bay as well. So they're at home. They're the 12.5-point favorites. How do you see this one working out?
Man, look, I never like giving 12 points, but Houston has been so dominant all season. They lead the league in points scored with 126, and then they go against Seattle team that has really struggled to score points, 64 points for the season. I want to say, look, I like Houston. I think Houston's going to win outright. 12 points is a lot, but I would not be surprised if this happens. This is one of those I probably wouldn't bet. But if I'm asked to bet, I'm going to go Houston. I like the over here because Houston, single-handedly could cover more than half of this spread pretty easily. So I do like them, this game going over, just because it has Houston in it. It's just an offense that's rolling here. 12 points is tough for me to give, but I do like the over here.
Yeah, and again, now that we're a little deeper into the XFL season, we're starting to see them come out with some player props. We're starting to see them come out with a couple sites are now offering, teasers and things like that. So this would be a prime game to kind of tease down to like a 6.5 if you could. But, a lot of places also aren't offering that. So, I mean, the best you can do is probably look at like Houston throwing in on a money line or something like that. Or, taking the over, you're probably going to get a lot better value out of it because – I mean, the money line on Houston, I didn't see it up yet, but, at a 12.5.
I haven't seen it up either.
Yeah, as a 12.5-point favorite, you got to figure they're going to be like -3, -400, something like that. So you're not going to get a lot of value out of that
either. Yeah, and the thing is that they're averaging, about 30 points a game. Here in Seattle has scored 16, 12, 17, the last three weeks. So in 19, they haven't scored above 20 yet. So you're talking about a team that has averaged a good amount of points versus a team that hasn't scored 20 points this season yet. So the chances of them covering are very high, but it's just a lot of points to give here, man.
Yeah, you don't want to get backdoored on something like this.
Right.
That's the way it goes. So, all right, let's talk about the next game here. My hometown team, the New York Guardians, taking on the Dallas Renegades today. 7.5-point Dallas favorite at Dallas. 37 is the total here, so kind of a low number. You look at the New York team. They beat Tampa Bay. They beat LA at home. They went on the road and lost to DC and St. Louis. So this being another road game here doesn't really bode well for them. Dallas lost to St. Louis to open the season. They lost to a good Houston team last week, 27-20, which is nothing to really be ashamed about. And then they have wins over LA and Seattle. So 2-2 Renegades, 2-2 Guardians. How are you looking at this
one? This is one of those games where it can go either way. I'm going to go with Dallas here. I like Dallas a little bit better. Guardians have really struggled to score. And Dallas is one of those teams that they have a couple weapons here. So I like them. I like taking the points. The under is interesting to me. The under is interesting here. I think that Vegas has this one like pretty good here at the 37 points. So I'm not touching the over under here. However, I do like that. You see, like if you can tease, this is a perfect way to do it where you get this down to like about 4 or 5, tease it down with another game. And we'll get to one of those games later where I think there's a pretty good spread that we can tease up. But 8 points is like right there, the borderline. The Guardians is just struggling. They've scored 49 points this season. A total. They're not going to get a ton of points on the board here against Dallas. So I do like Dallas here with the 8 points.
Yeah, and again, the Guardians won the 2 home games. They lost the 2 road games. So right now, that doesn't look like they travel very well. So I'd be on the Dallas side with you right there. I'm willing to throw some money on that one. So the next game we got here, we got St. Louis Battlehawks against the DC Defenders. Pretty good game here. 2 of the better teams in this league. Kind of moving in opposite directions, though. St. Louis is a 4.5-point favorite on the road against the DC Defenders, which if you told me that 2 weeks ago, I would have told you were crazy. But St. Louis has beaten Dallas, Seattle, and New York. They're only lost 28-24 to the Houston team that's 4-0 and leading this league right now in week 2. And then you look at the DC Defenders. They beat Seattle. They beat New York in the first 2 weeks of the season. The last 2 weeks of the season, they lost to LA 39-9. And then last week, they got blown out by Tampa Bay 25-0. So the DC Defenders are definitely moving in the wrong direction right now. And that's how they go from being the lowest price odds to start week 3 championship to being the team that's a 4.5-point underdog on the road against St. Louis. So, are they going to be able to turn this around, or is this another St. Louis victory?
All right, so this is the way I'm looking at this. DC has really struggled. They've struggled their last 2 games. They've been on the road the last 2 games. They're back at home this week. So that might change, kind of how this team operates. However, St. Louis is a very good defensive team. They're one of the best overall graded defensive teams, good pass defense, good run defense. So I'm going to go with St. Louis on the road. Cardale Jones has really, really struggled the last 2 weeks. 5 interceptions, under 200 passing yards, no touchdowns, a total of 4 fantasy points. It's just been, embarrassing after a very strong start to the season. I mean, he's still top 5 in passing yards in the league. That's how good he was the first 2 weeks. I do think he's going to pick things up. I just don't know if it's going to be this week. I'm going to go with St. Louis. They've just been right behind Houston as one of the best operating teams in the XFL. I expect them to go there win. It is going to be a close game. I think Vegas does have this right. But again, I think St. Louis is the better team here. So I'm going to take them. The over-under is one that I'm probably shying away from here. If I had to pick one, I take the over here. I just think St. Louis could score at will. And we've seen, on the other side, Cardale Jones carry this offense to score plenty of points here. So I like the over, even though St. Louis's defense is very good here.
Yeah, so hopefully DC can turn things around because I had them at plus 500 at the beginning of the year, and after the 2-0 start, I was excited. And then after the 2 losses right now, I was like, well, whatever. I should have hedged off of that when I had the chance, but it is what it is on that one. So let's go to the last game here of the day. The Tampa Bay Vipers facing the LA Wildcats here. The Vipers started the season 0-3, looked horrible doing it, couldn't put up any points. The third week against Houston, they actually, they lost, but at least they looked like they had some signs of life. And then last week, they just blew it up, 25-0, beating up on that DC team there. On the other side for the Wildcats, they've had a very tough schedule, right? They played Houston and Dallas to start the year, two of the better teams in this league. They lost both of those games. Then they beat DC in week 3, 39-0. And that's when we were like, oh, man, that's a pretty good win. But after watching DC get shellacked last week, 25-0 on the road,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really as good a win as I thought it was when it happened. And then you look at them, and LA wound up losing to the New York Guardians 17-14 in week 4. And the Guardians are not a team that I thought was very good. So I'm not really sure what to think of with this LA team. The Vipers, I think, are on an upswing right now. LA, I just don't know. So help me out here. What are we doing with this game? Wildcats favored by 2, over under a 40.
Yeah, look, both of these teams are 1-3. I think the better 1-3 team here are the Vipers. We had higher expectations for them earlier in the season, and this coming into fruition. You mentioned they did have a tough loss in week 3. It was against Houston, the best team in the XFL, but they did post up 27 points. Last week they put up 25. When you look at LA here, they failed to score more than 20 points in all but one game. And like you mentioned, it was in week 3. It was against, a team that has really been struggling, especially on the road the last 2 weeks. So, again, this is a game where I'm going to go with the team that's playing hotter. And I do like some of the LA, I do think this is going to be probably this is the most competitive and the best game of the week is this one, I think. But I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. I'm just going to go with the team that's riding hot. I think the team that's trending in the right direction. And we still don't know the Wildcats' identity at this time. It kind of changes from week to week. And then after losing to the Guardians last week, I really lost faith, just like you, in this team here. So it's a tough situation, really is, because both of these teams are 1-3 and it can go in any direction. But I do think the Vipers is the team to get here. I kind of, it's a high over-under, but I kind of like the over here because I do think both of these teams can score points pretty rapidly, and neither defense is all that imposing. And if you had to guess what team has the most total yards this season, it's one of the teams in this game, and it's the Tampa Bay Vipers. They've
Really?
actually they've gained the most yards this season. When I saw that number, I was pretty stunned myself because they did struggle early in the season, but they've totaled, I think it's about 900 yards the last 2 games, man. So they've been really, really hot, so I like them quite a bit here.
Yeah, because, they did not start the season all that well. So
No.
that makes a lot of sense that the last 2 weeks is when they've really been racking it up. So Tampa Bay is getting 2 in this game. Do you like Tampa Bay getting 2, or would you even look to sprinkle a little on the money line and think that they could win this game outright once we get a money line on it?
So this would be a good way to tease it. You get money line here with Tampa Bay, and I get those 2 points and put them in one of the other games we've talked about earlier. It could be Houston, take that down to 10. I know it's still a double-digit spread, but I think 10 is much more reasonable considering how well Houston's playing. Or even, in that St. Louis game, bring that down. Send it on the road, and if you don't want to bet them on the road, I'll give you 4. So I think that's a good way if you can get that done to tease Tampa Bay money line, because I do think they win out right here.
Yeah, and like I said, not every book is offering these teasers, so you really got to look. But, there is starting to be a little bit more of interest on the betting side in the XFL. So we've started to see some books have teasers. We started to see some books even put in the props, which are something that was really popular in the NFL that we used to talk about all the time as well. So there are a lot of different ways to play this. Now, you took down the big tournament last week. You're writing the matchups article this week, which is apropos. You did win all the money last week, so, you might as well get a little bit more work.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where they can go. Tell everybody where they can go to find all that fantasy information, and if you are having a book that offers some of the props, where they can get some of the information that they can use to make some of those prop bets.
Yeah, go to fantasyguru.com, man. I'm going to be posting the article sometime today. It's already done. I got to just go through it again and make some edits. But once I'm done with that, I'll post it. I got also, you're going to find my NBA article as well today on Elite Fantasy. So tons of content coming out today, guys. But the XFL one, it's definitely a good one. It's 5,000 plus words here in the matchups article covering all of week 5 with some suggestions for DFS, season long, and also some betting there as well.
Yeah, so if you're looking for that fantasy XFL information, get over to fantasyguru.com. You're looking to see who the guys like Tyler, guys like Armando, guys like Mans putting in some bets in the bet package over at elitesportsbetting.com for XFL action. You guys can go over to either one of them, sign up for the VIP, and that'll even give you access to all the other sports going on, the NBA bets, the MLB bets. Mad Lab's killing it with the MMA stuff. We got a
Yeah,
tennis guy on board right now. Our NASCAR guy's killing it.
we got
I
it
love this
covered.
company, man. We got a little bit. We got a stud in whatever sport you're looking at. We went out and tried to find the best people that are doing it and put them all together on one team, and we sell the whole thing to you guys as the VIP package. So it's the best value you can get out there. Like I said, looking for the fantasy information, get over to fantasyguru.com. Looking for the sports betting information, get over to elitesportsbetting.com. One way or another, whatever kind of information you're looking for, we got you covered here. So for Armando, this is Benny signing off for another episode of The Opening Line at elitesportsbetting.com.